to align in their compliance. Now, there's big penalties that can be experienced when you're not following compliance and that risk associated with it. Financial penalties, damage to the organization's reputation, operational disruptions, litigation, the list goes on and on. But most importantly, it's not just the big ones. It's also the small ones that we might take for granted. Example of that, working with a major U.S. airline, there's many regulations that go beyond what I had just mentioned that include FAA, EPA, that they need to comply with. And just think about it. And we've all seen it in our travels. You go into an airport terminal, you land for your connecting flights, and there's a facelift going on at that terminal. Could be something as simple as a fresh coat of paint. Well, you know what? Having a paint thinner in the terminal is considered a hazardous material that goes under EPA rules and regulations. You and I might have a gallon of that in our garage sitting around for our small projects. But for a major airline who's responsible for this facelift and everything associated with it, there's significant rules and regulations to comply that every day, at every moment of time, the placement of that material has to be documented. In the old world, it would be paper-based. You have a contractor coming on in paint, clean their brushes with the thinner, put it in the closet, fill out a report, it's done. You can't scale to that. The amount of inaccuracy in the location of that causes fines. This airline was getting millions and millions of dollars in fines because they couldn't clearly articulate in an inspection where those assets were. So understanding the people, understanding the workflow, and the technology available, not only in-house, but what could be procured and implemented, simple solutions like an RFID tag on that 5-gallon drum to be able to track that asset within the terminal, solve their regulatory issue and reporting compliance. We might not think about it, right, on a day-to-day basis, but those are the things that can crush an organization with millions and millions of dollars of fines. One other example, as time permits, I had an organization, a gaming company, and now this would be an IT compliance thing that was going under acquisition. Deloitte was the entity doing the due diligence for that acquisition, and they needed to comply with SOX or Monoxy. And in the due diligence process, they discovered that there was a violation. And it was in the bowels of the IT organization in their DevOps, right? Development to operations. And it had to do with data. And it was a simple area that was identified of separations of duties of who can touch the data. And by implementing DevOps platforms, tools, and applications, they were able to go into compliance for SOX and complete the acquisition. So again, there's hidden issues throughout an organization that understanding people, workflow, vision, direction, bring those issues to the forefront. Desha, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I think you're on point. I mean, the issue of compliance is a complicated conversation, right? And compliance actually begins not at the executive level; it begins at the field level, right? That is where a lot of the violations occur. Not because workers are illiterate on compliance, we just haven't taken enough time to educate them on the way technology can help that process, right? You know, the simple example of RFID tags that you talked about. You know, you think about the Volkswagen emission scandal that we were deeply involved with. Right? I mean, you think about that. I mean, that was knowing fully well that you're going to get caught. You still went out that path, right? It is a challenge. I mean, there are ethics violations, compliance violations. You know, there are criminal proceedings. There are a bunch of issues that come out of negligence and not understanding how to comply, and that escalating problem can really rip an enterprise apart. Small companies will not be able to withstand that, especially in today's world where there's so much turmoil in the economy. So if you can pay attention to that, it's a big boon to your enterprise.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
So Desh, you know, many CEOs speak with the struggle of getting timely, accurate financial insights when they need them most. Why is access to real-time financial data so critical for for decision making at the executive level? And what steps can leaders take to ensure their organizations have that visibility?
That is an excellent question, Simon. I'll tell you the reason why, because if you look at, we're talking real-time data, right? And when we talk about real-time data, and we're talking about financial data, right? You look at that and you're trying to understand what's going on in the enterprise, right? I mean, there are 4 or 5 principles all of us live by. You need to understand how much cash you have in your bank. You need to understand what's your receivables, what you need to understand your payables, all these different factors by which we run our enterprises, your ROI, your these kinds of things that we look by product, by markets, and all these kind of good things that we do. They are not meeting level conversations that you pull a group together and you sit down, you get the CFO and get the rest of the team, and you begin to pour over spreadsheets and analysis. It should be at your fingertips. You get up in the morning, we used to get up in the morning and you read the newspaper, have a cup of coffee. Now you have your iPad or whatever that you use, and your iPhone or whatever that you're using, and you're looking at your financial information portrayed to you in a method that you can consume it. People produce graphs that are absolutely incomprehensible. But so the question comes up is that it has to be meaningful information. That is cool. The problem is, where does that meaningful full information get derived from, right? And it goes back to the same conversation that I hate to keep hitting on people's heads. It's about data, right? So the question is that if you understand how your data is organized within the enterprise, right, and that data is actually made available to the enterprise so that people who know how to build these tools actually can use that data to build these tools. Sometimes organizations are so afraid that if the information goes out, there'll be too much information going out, our competitors will get to know that and stuff like that. There are methods, legal methods by which you control that, and the technology methods by which you control that, right? And if you trust your workforce, there is a way that you can portray that information in aggregated format, and that you can do drill downs and things like that. This is not a new topic. We have been working on this for the last 30 years. Mike and I were involved in the first business intelligence company that we sold to Oracle years and years ago, right? Okay. All of it is there. It has just become a lot easier today. So to build that financial regimentation within the enterprise and that discipline requires us to understand that what are the data components that we need to look at by personality type and by business that we run, right? And you need to understand that and look at that and say that, okay, you're heading a sales organization, you're heading the HR organization, you're heading a factory, whatever your function is. I'm a foreman in a factory, right? I want to know who is who is available in my shop today, right? Okay, if it's a big shop, right? What is my absentee rate? What is going on? What is the engagement level, right? All of that is easily trackable today. It is not something that you can't do. And it has become relatively inexpensive to do that. That's the other nice thing with the advancement of technology, right? But it does become a conversation about understanding your data, where does the data reside, what elements of data that are tracking. And you need to have a group of people that can help you identify those metrics that you want to measure and the data points that you want to deliver to your enterprise. Financial data, not understanding your financial data, is something that put companies out of business very quickly. And as a leader, that is your primary responsibility. I hate to say that in the stock terms, because when I was, working for large corporate American companies, somebody else did that. When I was starting my own business, it was like, oh my God, how much I don't understand about my own business, about cash flow and things like that, right? So that comes about, I think, with experience, understanding at the time. But those people who have not embarked on the journey, I would recommend, you do it. I mean, it's not hard. You just have to understand, how do you want to run the company? And I'm sure you have great advisors and good accountants and good CFOs in the enterprise and good leaders in the enterprise that can help you figure out, how to bring this together very, very quickly. But it begins with understanding your data, understanding again what you really want out of the data to run your financial management systems. Mike, anything that comes to mind that you can add there?
Again, being in the know, right? And that know has to align with the vision that you're trying to take the organization, again, for your company, for your people, for your customers and partners. Once you can align and connect those dots, I'm not saying it's going to be smooth sailing because there's always change. That's inevitable. But aligning yourself for adaptability, agility, and knowing is the secret sauce. And again, that data is the treasure chest.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful, guys. Well, so everyone, thank you so much for attending this very insightful and chock full of information and with this webinar. Now it is recorded, so it's going to be available on demand. But I again remind our audience that we have articles that we've written on the very same topics that have been covered today. So if you'd like a copy, please just send a message in the chat, and we will gladly reach out to you. If you're viewing this on demand later, okay, you can communicate with Desh or myself or Mike. Reach out to any one of us on LinkedIn, and you can book a meeting with us. You can request a specific article or set of articles. We also have ebooks that are going to be generated and delivered as well to our audiences. So please just let us know. Reach out to us. And again, this is our first of a monthly series that's focused on CEOs. Okay, so we welcome you guys to come back and join the live session, and as well as view the on-demand available sessions that are out there. All right. We also, for reference here, that we also have a series that's focused on the senior IT executives. Okay, they are separated audiences, but again, you're welcome to join those series of webinars as well. So again, thank you on behalf of the iBridge team. I want to thank you both for Desh and Mike for attending this and giving us that valuable insights. Thank you again. Thanks, everyone.
Our pleasure, Sam. Thank you.
We have a few questions, I think, that need to be answered. There's a gentleman by the name of Rohit Basin who has written a comment in there that we need to address.
All right, give me 1 second.